What's up everyone, I'm here at Studio H and today we're going to take a closer look at the Mavic Mini. Let's get into it. So, as you guys know, the drone world has been expanding rapidly, and because of this, there's more and more beginner and intermediate drone lovers and new pilots. So because of this, there's very much of a growing market for good performing drones that are also more affordable. DJI really hit the nail on the head with this market when they made the Mavic Mini here. There's so many things about this drone that make it great for beginners and new pilots. One of the main things is its weight. Now I believe that's pretty much the main thing they're thinking about when DJI made this drone, because it is exactly 249 grams. You can even see it right there. You can see it. They advertise it all over the place. And the reason this is so important is because the FAA actually has this regulation where if your drone is 250 grams or over, then you have to register it. So if you're a beginner and you don't want to have to do much to be able to get flying, you can just get this drone, take it out of the box and start flying. You don't have to mess with any government regulation or that kind of stuff. Although there is a DIY sticker that you can get for this drone to make it kind of stand out from the crowd and stuff like that. It's kind of funny. If you put it on, it actually makes it over 250 grams. So it may look cool, but there's downsides to that too. Also, what makes this drone really important is its size. As you can see, we have the Mavic 2 Pro here with us and the Mavic Mini, and they're drastically different. This thing is so much bigger than this one. And not only is this thing small, but it folds up just like the other Mavics. And this is really important because what we saw in the Spark, yeah, it was small, it was nice, but it didn't fold up. And this thing, you can see it folds up really small. You could stick it in your pants pocket, your coat pockets, your backpack, or even a fanny pack if that's what you're into. And that's it. That's all. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen other videos and stuff, and I watched other reviews before we did this video, and I was kind of skeptical about the size and the weight, but once I actually held it in my hand, I was blown away by how light it was. Now, this thing can go about 30 miles an hour max speed, which is a pretty good clip for how small and how light it is. Obviously, it's not going to be as fast as, you know, your Mavic 2 Pro or maybe your Inspire Phantoms or things like that, but it's pretty good for its size. Now, the flight time is about 30 minutes on the website. That's what they advertise on their website, but that really depends on your conditions, and we'll see how much it really is later. Now, this is something that's pretty important for you guys who might be, you know, more adventure seeker type of like outdoorsy kind of people, is the flight distance. Now, this thing can go about 2.5 miles away from the controller and about 2 miles above sea level. So that's pretty good if you're, you know, wanting to take it on a hike and, you know, fly it around the mountain, maybe do a little selfie or something like that. It'll get the job done. Now let's talk about modes. Especially if you're a beginner drone pilot, you may not know a whole lot about how to fly the drone or what the different modes are. Now, first of all, there's the P mode, which stands for positioning, and this is kind of the basic mode that you start out with. Now, this positioning mode, it uses the GPS system and the vision system to locate and stabilize your drone. Now, this drone, because it's so small and light, it doesn't have any obstacle avoidance sensors on it, but it does have some nice simple sensors just to, you know, see how far it is from the ground and that sort of thing, and that is called your vision system. And so it uses your vision system as well as the GPS to locate and stabilize the drone to know where it is. Now the sport mode, which is S, that's your faster mode. It'll let you go faster and be more agile, that kind of thing. Now C stands for Cinesmooth, and this mode is actually just the opposite of the sport mode. It restricts your speed so that you can get some nice, slower, cinematic type shots. And also a bonus for this is that it's pretty good for beginners. You know, if you're trying to fly around and you don't know a whole lot about it, then it restricts you from going super fast and maybe crashing into a tree. Now, as I said, we have the Mavic 2 Pro here, as well as the Mavic Mini. And so we decided to do some comparisons with them, just to see how much they differ. Now, the reason we decided to compare these instead of maybe the Spark or other lower end drones is, to be honest, this thing doesn't compare. It's the best comparison is bigger brothers. It's definitely doesn't have the same camera, as nice of a camera, obviously. This is a Hasselblad that's going to be much better than this thing, but this thing for $400 is still really good. The first comparison we did was the noise comparison. Now, if you're going to be flying around people, maybe in a city, it's pretty important to have a quiet drone. Now, obviously, no drones are silent, but it's good to know how loud your drone is, maybe. Yeah. So as we were doing the noise test, there wasn't a whole lot of difference in the noise. It was a bit of a different sound, but the noise levels were practically the same between these two. The video is really what puts these two apart. As you know, this camera is much better than this camera, and we'll talk about the specs of the camera later on. As you can see, when we zoom in to the video quality, you can really tell that there is a big difference between this one and this one. This one is the Mavic 2 is much better, but for the price, the Mini is really good, to be honest. All right, so let's talk camera specs. The Mini here has a 12 megapixel sensor, as well as that's on a roughly about 24 millimeter lens, f2.8. And the video quality, you can get 2.7K out of this at 30 frames per second and 1080p at 60 frames per second. In the port type, you can use anything from Lightning, micro USB, USB Type-C, all the main ones. You know, there's something kind of strange we found out about the Mavic Mini and that's the SD cards. So we looked on this website, on the DJI website, and realized that there are a lot of recommended SD cards. So we have the 16 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme, the Lexar 633X, 32 gigabyte Samsung Pro Endurance, Samsung Evo Plus. Now, that's a lot, and basically all you need to know for your SD card is just get a pretty fast one, because if you're going to be shooting at 2.7K, which isn't 4K, but it's still pretty big, you need a fast SD card to be able to handle that. Let's talk about the pros and cons. Now, we've been talking about how this drone is great for beginners, and it is really a great drone for beginners. Like we were talking about the weight, it's 249 grams, and that's with the battery. So that's really light. I was just seeing before we were shooting this. Okay, look at the size comparison between the controller of the Mavic 2 Pro and the drone, or the Mavic Mini drone. They're about the same size, and if you feel them in your hand, even with the battery, they're almost the same weight too, so that's pretty crazy. And this is definitely a bonus. This is definitely a pro for beginners if they're just getting into the drone world. Another one that we haven't talked about yet is the gimbal. This is a 3-axis gimbal, which is really nice because it's not something we saw in the Spark, which is supposed to be a beginner drone as well. That one only had a 2-axis gimbal, and this makes it a lot better, to be honest. And also the price is really great. You know, it's about only $400 for the base package, but with an extra $100, you can get extra batteries, 2 extra batteries, extra props, as well as a prop guard, a charging hub, and that's actually another bonus that we really like is this smart charging hub. It may seem like a normal charging hub, but what it actually does, it seems pretty simple, but it's kind of revolutionary. What it does is it will charge the battery with the most percentage first. So say this battery is at 80%, but this one's at 20%. It'll charge this one first to get that battery to full charge and get you in the air sooner, which is really pretty nice. Now, some of the downsides to this drone would be that it doesn't have any RAW photo capability. If you guys don't know what RAW is, that is basically taking pictures with the most information possible in the image. So you can, it's really nice for editing later in Lightroom or something like that. And also it doesn't have any manual video modes, which is unfortunate if you're into that kind of thing. Something else is that it doesn't have any follow or tracking modes, and this is most likely because if they had added those sensors or those processors, it would have made it over 249 grams. And like I said before, this drone is all about the weight, it seems. They really tried to be careful on how much they put on this drone to make sure it didn't go over that mark. Also, it doesn't have any 4K video. We talked about that before, but as you can see, the video quality is still really good for 2.7K. As we were saying before, this drone is great for beginners or intermediate pilots if you're just getting into the hobby. It's great if you're wanting to, boost that Instagram feed with some aerial shots or landscape photography kind of thing. Or even if you're, wanting to add some nice B-roll to your vlogs on YouTube, this is a great buy. At only about 400 bucks, you get a lot in this package. Well, that's it for today, folks. Don't forget to do the honors, hit that like button and subscribe and ring that notifications bell on your way out. And that's it. Stay tuned for more great content. Have a good day.